Hey friends, we're gonna do some shoulder maintenance today, and you'll need a few toys. You'll probably wanna have a blanket, and I have a block here, and I also have a can of beans. So you can just use a block, especially if you have kind of a lighter weight foam block. My block is a cork block, and I tried one of the moves that we're going to do with it, and it felt a little too heavy for me. So I grabbed a can of beans. You can also use a water bottle or a lightweight handheld dumbbell. So let's get started. We're just gonna start out by kind of taking stock of the movement that we already have in our shoulders, in our arms. Let's face it, we spend a lot of time with our arms in one position, whether we're typing, scrolling, driving. Usually they're straight ahead out in front of us. So the goal for our class today is to get our arms moving in all the ways that they have the capability to move, and also to kind of fortify them and help them to be resilient and strong. So let's go with some shoulder circles to start out with. So as you start circling your shoulders forward, up towards your ears, back behind you, and down the back, I hope you can bring some awareness to your shoulder blades and the way that they are sliding around on your back. Just notice, are there any places through this movement where you feel ease, where you feel extra tension, where you feel maybe your shoulder blades feel like they're going over a few speed bumps in the process? Go ahead and reverse directions. Notice if any parts feel stuck. Just take stock. And it's funny how even just doing this, it's making my shoulders really heat up. I feel like this is really just turning on the oven inside my shoulder girdle. I don't know if you're experiencing that as well. Sometimes the simplest movements are the most powerful. So go ahead and stop the shoulder circles, and now we're gonna bring the arm bones into the movement. So I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see. I'm just gonna take my arm out back and around, and I'm gonna make some shoulder circles here. So some things to think about while you're making your or your arm circles, is my intention to move my arm bones displacing other parts of my body? So, as you reach back behind you, are you actually twisting through your rib cage? Or as you reach behind you, are you dipping forward or arching up? Can you try to keep your spine and your rib cage and your pelvis all in their just neutral position? So that's one thing you can think about. Go ahead and reverse direction. Another thing that you can think about is the level of resistance that you're offering yourself. So maybe today you want to keep things easy peasy, and so you are just moving your arm around. No big whoop, okay? No extra thought needed. That's fine. Maybe you want to give yourself a little extra, and that would mean that you could kind of stiffen your arm and resist yourself as you move through that arm circle. Kind of imagining that you're moving through a vat of cold molasses. And that's gonna slow your movement down. Wherever you are on that spectrum of resistance versus ease, you're just paying attention to the range of motion that you have and how it feels. Does the range of motion that you have feel good? Okay, let's go to the other side. So again, maybe you're just doing some easy peasy lemon squeezy shoulder arm circles here. As you're going, you're just kind of paying attention to the movement, how it feels. And another option is to stiffen your arm and kind of resist that movement, which is going to make it go a little bit slower. Okay, go ahead and reverse. Again, making sure that the rest of your body is staying stiff and still. Okay, you're not opening up your whole torso as you take your arm out back behind you. And again, simple movement. I am giving myself some resistance, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And it's already turning up the temperature, turning up the heat in my upper body. Okay, let's go ahead and shake it out. Shake out the arms, shake out the hands. Okay, now we're gonna come to a corner of a wall. You could also probably do this sitting down if you have like art that's impeding your height. You can just play around. Use this as kind of an idea spark and see how maybe you can build off of it depending on your own space. I'm gonna turn my ring around so I don't scratch up the wall. You might need to do the same thing if you have any finger jewelry on. You're gonna stand in the corner. So my feet are maybe about a foot away from the corner. The further your feet are from the corner, the more challenging the exercise is gonna be. The closer your feet are to the walls, the easier the exercise will be. So I'm gonna let my shoulder girdle kind of get nestled into the wall, and then I'm gonna press my forearms and the backs of my hands into the wall. I'm even really trying to get kind of my fingernails pressing into the wall as well. So I'm gonna take a deep breath in, and as I exhale, I'm gonna push into my forearms and my hands and try to bring my shoulders any amount forward away from the wall. And then with control, I'm gonna keep that press as I lower my arms, my shoulders back into the corner. Here we go again. Exhaling to press. And you can inhale back if you want, or you can do it on another exhale. So, I know you all know that nobody puts baby in the corner except for when she's trying to work on her shoulders. So this exercise is really heating up our external rotators. You might be feeling this on like the sides of your armpits. You might feel it in between your shoulder blades. You might feel it kind of at the bottom tip of the shoulder blade. Just pay attention. One thing to watch out for is that your shoulders might try to fly up towards your ears. And that's gonna mean that you're getting a side of traps with your external rotators, and we really don't want a side of traps. We just want the external rotators and maybe those muscles in between the shoulder blades working here as well. Woo, turning up the temperature. I'm starting to sweat. Here we go, last 3. That's 3, 2, last one, 1. Great job. Okay, float away from the wall. Shake it out. Do your like jellyfish arms or whatever. Okay, we're gonna bring it down to all 4s now. So you can always put a blanket under your knees for extra padding, and I'm gonna do that as well in just a moment. And actually I'm gonna turn around because I don't know if you met Norbert the last time I did a video or not, but Monty is too big for the corner now. This is Norbert the Northern Pine. Okay, so we are gonna be on our hands and our wrists for a while. So I want to offer you some options for your hands and wrists before we start load bearing. So one thing that you can do if your wrists bother you is to elevate the heels of your hands on a blanket or a wedge or a rolled towel. Another thing that you can do is to do your fists on the ground. And yet another thing that you can try is we're gonna just have one hand supporting us at a time. So if you put that hand on a block, you're taking some of the weight off of your wrist and hand and transferring it towards your lower half. So that's an option too. You do you. Okay, so I'm gonna put my blanket under my knees so that they stay happy. And I'm gonna get my can of beans. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna use it after I show you the movement. So let's do the movement, see how it feels, and then if you wanna add some load in the form of a can of beans or whatever, you may. So this movement is kind of like cow's face pose arms. If you're familiar with cow's face pose, Gomukhasana in yoga, we're gonna be kind of flowing in and out of that arm position. So I'm going to pick up my left hand and I'm gonna observe to notice if my abdominal muscles fire up to support me. And they did. So let me just put the left hand back down and try with the right hand. And yes, I still feel the support of my abdominal muscles. So now that I've done that little test, I'm gonna take my left arm up again. I'm gonna take it out to the side. Then we're gonna go back down towards the hips. You're gonna bend, you're gonna turn your palm towards the ceiling, bend at the elbow and reach your fingertips up towards your shoulders. Okay, so the palm is facing the ceiling here. And then we're gonna straighten out, flip the palm by rotating the upper arm bone, take the arm forward. And now here's the fun part. So if your shoulders are really tight, you might be kind of, as you bend the elbow, you might be kind of stopping here before you hit your head. You can also drop your head if you want to try to get your hand kind of towards the back of your neck a little bit more, or you can keep your head level with the ground, whatever works for you. And you're gonna flow between those two positions. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like from a kneeling position. So if I had my hands on the ground, it would be like this. The arm comes out to the side to start, and then it comes behind the back, so you can wave behind you. And then it comes out to the side in a line with the ear and bend the elbow so the hand comes down to the back of the neck. And you're flowing between those two. So if that's feeling easeful and you want to add some load, grab that can of beans or your water bottle or whatever, and let's flow with the can of beans. Can of bean flow. Be careful that you don't whack yourself in the head with your beans or your water bottle or whatever it might be. Keep it breathing. One more each way. Okay, go ahead and put your beans down. Go ahead and sit back for a moment or shift to your bottom just to give your wrists a break. And take stock in your shoulders. Does one feel pretty different than the other? For me, the answer is yes. So let's go ahead and try the other side. So the left hand is gonna stay down. And I should say, you know, your shoulders, you probably know this already, but your shoulders probably move a little differently from left side to right side. So again, before you just assume that you're gonna be good doing this with weight, try the movement first. Sans can of beans, without the can of beans. And then if it still feels well, you can go ahead and bring in the extra weight. So balancing on the left hand, I'm gonna take the right arm out to the side, rotating so the palm faces up towards the ceiling, bend the elbow, and try reaching the fingers up towards the left shoulder or up towards the back of the head. And then straighten the arm back out to the side, flip the palm, extend the arm towards the ear, bend the elbow again, and you're kind of reaching for the back of your neck here. And you're gonna toggle between those two. So if you've done this cow's face pose that I talked about in yoga, you know that you kind of put your arms in the position and you kind of rest your arms in that position. So it's passive. This is an active version of that. And so that means that, you know, when you take your hand behind your back, we're not relaxing the arm onto the back. We're keeping it lifted away, and that's using the shoulder in kind of a different way. Oh, I forgot to get the can of beans. I'm gonna get my can of beans. If you have already done it, kudos to you. Again, don't whack yourself in the head. Ooh, this side is harder. Maybe it's because I already did it several times before picking up the can of beans. One more. Okay, great job. You can put the can of beans off to the side. Go ahead and get off your hands. Maybe shake out your wrists. One time when I was having folks shake out their wrists like this in a very cold room, a woman's wedding ring went flying across the room. So if your room is cold right now, make sure that your jewelry, your hand jewelry stays on. Okay, we've done a lot of focus on the shoulders because this is a shoulder maintenance class, but we're just gonna check in real quick with the lower half, give the top a moment to rest. So beginning with your knees under your hips, step your right foot forward, and I'm starting out with my ankle forward of my knee, okay? I'm gonna tuck the tailbone under, it's posterior pelvic tilt, and then I'm gonna shift my pelvis forward into a lunge. And I'm only gonna go as far as I can without displacing my pelvis from that posterior tilt. And I'm just gonna hang out here and let my left quad, the front of my left hip, kind of enjoy that, and let my arms feel worked and heavy just hanging by my sides. Enjoy your breath. Okay, let's go ahead and back the pelvis up. You can put the right knee under the right hip, and we'll step the left foot forward. Same thing here. Tailbone scoops down, so we're in posterior pelvic tilt, and that's just gonna really inject more sensation into the front of the right thigh, front of the right hip. So lunge the pelvis forward, and you're just letting your arms hang and feel heavy as you breathe and feel into that sensation on the right leg. Okay, go ahead and shift your pelvis back. And we're gonna come to a standing position. So feel free to use your hands for help, or you can just curl your back toes under and press straight legs up. Okay, I'm gonna move my blanket out of the way. So as we mentioned, we spend a lot of times with the arms in front of the body, but our arms do have this great range of motion potential behind us as well. Which we really don't use unless you're a baseball pitcher or you are constantly handing snacks to the back seat of your minivan. So this next exercise is going to target what's going on behind us. And this is where I'm gonna grab my block. So if you don't have a block, or you feel like the block restricts your shoulders because it's so narrow, you can always do this with something wider, like a foam roller, or even just like a pillow. The tighter your shoulders are, you might not be able to get your hands as close together for a block, or close enough together for a block behind you. So just do what you can. Again, the block is a suggestion, and you get to be creative and add on to it in a way that feels kind for you. So I'm gonna hold the block in my left hand and I'm gonna make a big sweeping motion back to take that block behind me as far as I can. And now there are ways that we can kind of make it feel like we've taken the block further back behind us than we actually are. So one of those ways is maybe by like hunching forward a lot. Another way might be by lifting up through the rib cage, the opposite. So just to make sure that we're really focusing the movement in the shoulder, in the arm, make sure that your rib cage stays stacked in neutral. So again, big sweeping movement back. And then the right arm is gonna be back here to accept the block from the left. And I'm gonna whack the wall if I don't turn. And so then the right arm is gonna come wide out. I'm just gonna turn in a circle. And the left arm is gonna grab and it's gonna sweep around back. Maybe I should just stand like this, huh? That would probably be better. So we're trying to kind of keep the wrists near shoulder height, maybe a little bit below shoulder height. Now, for most of us, me included, they're gonna dip down way below shoulder height as they move behind you. And let's see if we can do one more here. Can you keep your elbows straight as you're reaching back? If you can't, that's fine. So now let's go the other way. So the right arm is gonna sweep back. Again, the rib cage is staying put. Trying to keep the elbows straight as you go back behind you. I'll show you what that looks like. Did my elbow stay straight? I think it did, but I had to bend my wrist. So there's lots of ways that our body can compensate when one part doesn't move as much as we need it to. And that's the beauty of our highly adaptable and resilient bodies. Okay. Now, go ahead and bring the block behind you. You could also do this with empty hands. You could do this with 2 cans of beans, whatever you want to do. Find what's kind. So I've got the block behind me, okay? And first, I'm gonna stabilize my rib cage. Then I'm going to bend my elbows straight up towards the ceiling, okay? Like I'm kind of just doing a lift behind me. And I am also trying to prevent my elbows from winging out side to side. So instead of this, I'm focusing on this, okay? Hopefully you could see a difference. It feels very different to me, but I can't see back there because I don't have eyes in the back of my head. My triceps are burning. So you're gonna try to keep your elbows together and then extend your arms straight any amount and just go back and forth here. I like to keep my gaze down a little bit. It just feels better for my neck. Notice if as you start to get tired, your block starts to sag towards the ground. Try to encourage it to stay up where it started. Now there's nothing wrong with bat wings. We all have bat wings. I'm getting them when I wave. My tricep waves too. That's gravity, that's life. But we can still make them strong underneath that extra lax tissue that's losing its collagen. So I hesitate to call this a batwing buster, but that's pretty catchy, you know? Last one. Whew, I'm sweating. Okay, put your block down or your cans of beans down. Let's do a little neck circling here. Sometimes when we are working on the shoulders, again, like you might get a side of traps with whatever you're working on, and we don't need that side dish. but it can still introduce a little bit of unhelpful tension into the neck. So let's start by bringing the chin to the chest, and then right ear to right shoulder, and chin to chest, left ear to left shoulder, chin to chest, eyes at the horizon, lift the chin, and then point the chin to the left, back to center, point the chin to the right, back to center, and bring your gaze level again. Okay, so I don't know about you, but my arms and my shoulders are feeling worked. Let's just retest with the shoulder circles and the arm circles that we started with at the beginning and see if anything feels different. It might feel a little harder if you're already fatigued, but pay attention to the amount of movement that you have and how, like, the quality of how that movement feels within that same range of motion. Okay, so starting off with some shoulder circles. So it just kind of feels like my shoulders are sliding around a little bit better. For me, I feel less shoulder blade speed bumps. Okay, and then I'm just gonna test my arm circles. Definitely feels like I don't really know if I have more range of motion, but the quality of the range of motion, it feels a little bit easier, less tight. And I'm going to try the other arm. Definitely a little less crackly over here. And I'm going to reverse. Okay. Woo, that felt really good on my shoulders, on my arms. They feel nice and worked, kind of greased up. I hope yours feel that way too. I'm so proud of you for taking time to focus on yourself and offer your body some care. I'll see you next time.